Welcome to this video series about improvising by Sietze de Vries. You can support this video series by donating the amount of your choice to Sietze de Vries' Patreon account, which can be found by searching Sietze de Vries Patreon or by finding the link in the description below the video. Enjoy the video.
We talked before about going from vertical thinking to horizontal thinking. That means a lot of what we did so far was basically a melody and underneath you put chords, so vertical thinking. Of course, especially in Baroque music, the horizontal thinking was at least as important. So not only wonderful harmonies appeared, but also every part of that harmony formed a melody on its own. So that means voicing is getting more and more important. Where does every voice go from one note to the next? And of course, with Bach as the perfect example, you can always tell his music is so wonderful because every line has something interesting to say. It's never that you're just playing an accompaniment. It's always more than that. So let's see if we can take a next step into a more horizontal direction. And one way to go is actually to make three-part harmony. And not only three-part harmony in the normal way, we've done that before, but with the melody in the middle actually. Because very often when you make three-part harmony, the middle voice is the kind of filler. So you have a melody that's a given, you have a good bass line, and the alto is actually filling in the gap in the best way possible. But of course it really gets interesting when the alto is actually not the filler but the melody, so you can't escape it anymore, it has to be the right note. And now you have to fill in the two other voices, the soprano and the bass. So let's go back to the old hundredth and see how you can harmonize it in a simple way with only three voices and the melody in the middle. And of course there are many ways. I already had a tendency to make kind of a melody in the soprano because that's what you want to hear. If it's just, what I talked about in the alto before, when it sounds like a filler in the soprano, that wouldn't work because then you have some random jumping around. So the more you can turn it into a melody, the better it is. And of course, for this you need to know the different kinds of inversions. You need to know what good voicing is. So at the end I actually doubled the G 3 times. That's no problem. That's the tonic, so you can do that. But of course you don't want to double a third if it's not really necessary. And the same actually with a fifth. You have to be careful and use your ears all the time. What's the note I can double? Or even better, can I avoid doubling any notes? So that means you need to know your harmonization really well. And of course, once you can do this in a simple way, you can make it more interesting. The first step could be that you focus more on the soprano and try to have passing notes and beautiful melodies, little motifs, so that it sounds more interesting. and you know my creed, it's always important to go step by step so that you can control things. So once you have the focus on the right hand, and you can do that quite easily without much thinking, then you can focus on the left hand to make things more interesting there. And guess what, once you can do this, you can probably focus on all three voices at the same time, but it actually means that a lot of what you do is kind of autopilot. You just know what to do, it's in your system, you have embodied it. So only when you feel secure that you are in control, then you can just let your fingers kind of go. And that's what most people actually think of improvisation. You just have fantasy and let's see what happens. But of course the underlying thing is actually quite complex. You really have to know your language, your grammar, your vocabulary, and then you can make really beautiful things. So let's see what happens when I just have the melody in the middle and both other voices are doing interesting things.